We are here with our guest for today, Nema Brewer. She is an organizer for the American Federation of Teachers in Fayette County, heavily involved in the fight for student rights and educator rights within the Commonwealth. And we could talk for days about what you're involved in. You've been sued for your activism, and I know how much you love Kentucky politics, but let's start with this very interesting information coming out about our disgraced former governor, Matt Bevin, and his wife, Glenna Bevin's divorce. Of course, they want it to be sealed. I don't know that it's going to remain that way. His former adopted son is saying that he was basically left for dead in a Jamaican school, and he's had to fight his way out. And his former millionaire adoptive parents apparently don't care about him, and he's filed a restraining order against the former governor.
Yeah, I mean, right? Like, first of all, thanks for having me on. I've been looking forward to having a discussion with you about a lot of things recently, but this has probably been one of the most vindicating thing that I have felt in a long time. And I hate to say that because I feel so terrible for what this young man has said he's gone through. But when we started the fight against Matt Bevin in 2017, it was like you could almost feel in the air that this was not somebody, there was just something not right about him. Like
Right.
there was something off. And it was beyond just his ugly politics. And his nasty rhetoric. There was just something not right. And, we kept telling people, this is who this guy is. And he showed us who he was now, William. Now, remember, he showed us completely. He called teachers everything but milk cows, blamed them for everything under the sun, would take their emails and put them on press conferences. Remember whenever he was doing that live
Wait here, I got a good one for you. Listen to this.
Child was physically harmed or ingested poison because they were home alone, because a single parent didn't have any money to take care of.
Remember when he brought all that up and said that the kids were sexually assaulted because, the teachers weren't at school, they were at the Capitol? For a guy who cared so much about kids and whether they were home alone or being assaulted, he leaves his kid to be assaulted and harmed. Explain that.
In another country, and then will not come back and get him.
Well, he did allegedly offer to send him to Ethiopia.
Right, which he is not from. He is an American. Like, that's the thing. Like, these are the things, like, when I don't try to get in anybody's parenting business because I'm a parent and I know it's hard enough. But the thing is that how you adopt a child, bring a child into your home, raise a child, and then say, well, I'll drop you back off in Ethiopia where I picked you up, where you have probably very little recollection of anything, and you actually have more family and friends here in Kentucky. See, that's the thing that's unconscionable to me, but it proves a point. People can be shiny and polished and slap their knee and pretend like they're this person or they're that person, but Kentuckians know better. And I believe by Bevin getting beat, it was a sign of people saying, you know what, we know better. We're not falling for this again. We fell for it before, but you don't have to pee on us and tell us it's raining, but once before us to figure it out. That's whenever I knew, and I've always known Kentucky's different, but that's when I knew, because we squeaked by with the hair of our chins. But I'm going to tell you, that was a vote that was the public educators and the people who care about public education in this state. They finally united, put aside party lines, and said, enough's enough. We're not going to be belittled. We're Kentuckians, by God, and you're not.
So I remember vividly he was going around trying to say that he had the vote of the educators, which he clearly did not. And I want you to listen to this. It's a clip from when he was in the West End of Louisville trying to make himself look good. And this is something he said about the students of West Louisville. Take a listen to this.
Nativity Academy. I'm about to go in and meet the members of the West Louisville Chess Club. Not something you necessarily would have thought of when you think of this section of town.
how do you even make sense of that?
Well, I mean, of course, why would the west side of, I mean, you see, this is just the kind of doofus this guy was. Let me tell you, this guy was a walking PR dream for opposition against him. And the great thing about what happened with the 120 movement is that every time he would say something, somebody would hear it in one of the 120 counties, and we stayed on him. We made him own his own mouth. And I think that was something that we just let up on like a dog with a bone, and we refused to let him change that narrative. And he couldn't, because if you hear him, he was never one of us, man. He came in here and grifted his way in, and I hope he grifts his way out. If there's any way if we could throw him out of the state of Kentucky, he doesn't deserve to claim any sort of ties to Kentucky, period.
We had
in my opinion.
Not really a debate, but a more of a panel discussion in Oldham County. It was myself, the governor, former representative, now imprisoned Robert Goforth, and Ike Lawrence, who, if you remember, wanted to just really focus on beer at college events. But
that's right.
The governor came up, and he showed up in jeans, of course, and he just shook my hand as he was doing everybody else. He goes, "Hey, good job." And I'm thinking, you were the last person that needs to tell anybody what a good job they're doing. I'm sitting here, I'm looking at the stuff that's come out in the past week, and then I look at the fact that he was basically insinuating that African American students really shouldn't be playing chess, or that's not what you think of when you think of African American students.
Right, because God forbid, when you think of the West Side, what do you think? I mean, it's just oozing with this like racism and this misogyny and xenophobia. I mean, it just oozes.
But then you listen to that clip about the kids being sexually assaulted because of the teachers, and then we find out that his wife has said that he comes in the home in the middle of the night and follows her into the bedroom when she's already asleep, and Jonah, the child, now has this restraining order. I mean, the word that comes to mind with this guy is just creepy.
Absolutely. And again, what everybody in this state owes a debt of gratitude to the educators and the public education supporters, retirees, all of them that hit the ground running. Because I'm telling you, if this man would have been our governor beyond that one term, I don't know how we would have made it through COVID. And it was bumpy, right?
Oh, yeah.
But I can't even begin to imagine how many more lives would have been lost in this state. I can't begin to imagine how much just kind of voodoo stuff would have been going on. I mean, it was getting weird when he kind of brought in this whole kind of weird Republican vibe. And I'm not trying to slam the Republicans by any means, but, he kind of was like the newcomer of that kind of weird hybrid, like, we're not really sure. Is he a constitutionalist? What's going on here? Libertarian? Like, who is this, right? He was kind of one of those. He was one of those people that was a little early before his time, right?
He was an early Trump. He had a lot of money. He rode into town, thought he was going to take over. He didn't, because he didn't win the Senate fight against McConnell. And then, he got ran out kind of like Trump did at the end of his first term.
That's right. That's exactly right. And so it was just kind of like he was the test pattern, right? Like, let's tweak it and get it going somewhere else. But it's just one of those things. I don't think that Kentucky, I'm sure we'd seen the likes of him before, but we hadn't really seen the likes of somebody who was just so blatantly gross in his communication with his constituents, at least not that I can remember. And it was just this whole different side. And then when all that Jeff Hoover stuff went down,
right,
and you had all this, I mean, you could just tell that things were changing, and probably not for the better.
You mentioned the word earlier. You said vindication, and I remember this because I remember seeing you down there. I remember seeing you on the television everywhere. And we agree on a lot of things. There are some things we don't agree on, and that's fine.
Right.
But you said vindication. And I remember sitting in the offices of several news directors around the state. We knew we had these claims and alleged police reports of abuse by Robert Goforth and alleged crimes, and we knew all the backstory on Bevin, and nobody would run with it. And they even canceled debates because Bevin didn't want to show up. And when you said vindication, I thought, you know what? That's right, because the Republican Party doesn't stand a chance of getting the governor's office back. And to all those people who would not report what was valid information, now it's all out there.
Right. I mean, and that's the thing. And it's like, and I wonder sometimes, like when you're a part of, when you buy into that mentality, right? Which is the system mentality of, well, so-and-so can't win because he doesn't have money. So-and-so can't win. It's like a fulfilling prophecy almost, And so because that's the narrative, then we just shut out all the other voices because
Right.
they couldn't possibly win.